Welcome back to the Kelly Roach Show. Today we're talking about 5 things that you can do to multiply the productivity of any new hire before they ever get started in a role working for you or your company. Now, there's a lot of things to break down here, and I'm only going to be able to cover a few of them here in this podcast, but I promise there will be more episodes to come. A lot of you have come to me recently and said, you've had to make changes on your team. You're not satisfied with the productivity of your people. They're not bringing in enough profits to support them continuing in your organization, and you need help figuring out what to do. Now, I've already recorded several episodes talking about how to do expense reductions and how to do them smartly and safely without standing in the way of your business's ability to grow. And one of the things that I shared is how important it is to try your very best to maintain your team intact. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have to make changes. For a lot of you, even if you keep your team intact, you're going to have to change their roles. And that's okay. That's adapting. That's evolving, right? And so that's going to be happening for a lot of us, right? But what do we do when we do have an opening and we're ready to grow? Or what happens when you do have someone that you end up removing from the organization? You realize they're not a fit, but you know that it's an essential role that you need to get filled, right? Well, we want to make sure that every time someone leaves our organization that we learn something. And, I've shared this many times. When you look at HR statistics, it many times takes multiple hires, sometimes 3 to 4 hires, to find the right person for any role in your organization. And this is one of the hardest and most heartbreaking parts of being a CEO. And it's also where we get the most hate. I have gotten the most hate, the most online bashing, the most hardship from going through this process of not being willing to compromise on building a winning team. I've been ruthless about getting the right people in my inner circle, and that has paid off big time. But I paid the price for that. And I suffered a lot of, takedown campaigns and people writing horrible things about me online and people trying to get my clients to leave, and went through all the things that you can think of that people today do, because whatever moral decline that we've seen in society definitely has led people sometimes to not act in the most loving way towards others. But here's what I'll tell you. As a CEO, your job is not to be liked, it's to be respected. And your focus is to give people the best opportunity and possibility for success. Your job is to hire with good intent of winning partnership between you and the person that you're hiring, and to do everything you can do to be a good employer and a good leader to help someone to succeed. Now, if that intent is there and you get someone in your organization that doesn't belong, you have to do the brave thing and you need to get them out, because every moment that they stay there, it's hurting not just you, but it's hurting the entire team. And every time you have someone on the team that is either not pulling their weight from a results standpoint or is disrupting culture, they are negatively impacting the productivity of everyone else in the organization in unseen ways that are really unquantifiable. And so you have to be ruthless in getting the right people on your team. You have to realize that in many instances, you will go through multiple hires to find the right one for a role. And this can be a really challenging and heartbreaking process, but it's something that you have to persevere through if you ultimately want to lead your organization to success. So I want to talk about what I have learned to be the top 5 things that you can do before someone even starts in your organization that will, number one, help you make sure that you don't make as many mishires so that it takes you less hires to find the right person for the role. And number 2, so that you can make sure that they're set up for success and the company is set up for success to have a winning partnership where they make money, grow, and succeed, and your company makes money, grows, and succeeds. Sounds like a winner, right? Okay, so let's get down to it. The first thing that you want to do is you want to completely scrap the way that you've been building job descriptions. When you look at traditional job description, it tends to be a list of tasks. Many times it is bullet pointing out all the things that this person is going to do, all the things that this person needs to know how to do, all the things that you want this person to be able to contribute. And all of that is great. But what you really need is you need an outcome-based job description? What are the results that someone is going to be accountable for? And what are the outcomes that they need to be able to deliver on? What is the mindset of success that is needed in your culture and in your organization? And what do they need to be willing and able and excited to do and contribute on a daily basis? So think about the way that you've been building job descriptions and challenge yourself to make sure that you have clarity on what are the top 3 things that someone is going to be doing on a weekly basis that are going to contribute to the profits of the company. Make sure that the job description is built around that so that they're clear and you're clear what the priority is from moment 1, day 1, to help them and you to achieve success. Many times someone might be interested in all different tasks that you have listed in your job description, but they may not be committed to producing the outcomes that you really need. And those are 2 different things. So many times people love the craft. They love doing the art of whatever role they're in, but they don't love the accountability. They don't love the structure. They don't love having to deliver on the outcomes. And that's a problem, because you're not hiring them for the art, you're hiring them for the outcome. So that begins before someone ever makes it through the interview process for one of your roles. Number 2, you need to make sure that you have a repeatable pathway to success. I hear from people so many times that they know exactly what they want a new hire to do and that they're really clear on the results they need the person to deliver. Great. But then when you look at the organization, they're not doing any of that right now. There is no repeatable pathway to success. There is no proven method that someone's going to follow to get an outcome. There are no inroads built for this new hire that you're bringing into your organization. And that's a problem, because one of the biggest things that I hear from hiring managers and CEOs is that they're frustrated at how long it takes to get someone productive. They're frustrated at the unpredictable of the results being delivered. They're frustrated by, the fact that people aren't getting up to speed quickly enough. And what they don't realize is they're setting people up for failure, because instead of someone coming into a role and being placed into a working system where there's a repeatable pathway and process for them to achieve success in their role with metrics that are defined, practiced, and put in place to help them have success, instead they're expecting a brand new person, doesn't matter how experienced they are, new to you, new to your offer, new to your culture, new to your systems, to build a pathway to success. And just like the difference between building a house and buying a house, if you want the ability to settle in 30 days and be moved in, you better be bringing someone into a repeatable pathway of success that's defined, that's working already, that is creating results already. If you're willing to wait 2 years for the build a house model, then absolutely have at it. Go hire someone to come to build that pathway to success. But don't expect a 30-day settlement on a new build. And that's what I'm seeing happen across the board over and over again. And it's where this misconception about thinking new hires are not successful or not contributing comes in. And it's because they were set up for failure from the gate, because there was no repeatable pathway to success. Now listen, when you hire for a brand new role, there's not a guarantee that you're always going to be hiring someone into something that's working perfectly. Sometimes you're hiring someone to solve a problem, and that's okay. But then your timeline for floating the person in that role and paying their wage and their salary for long enough to come in and solve the problem needs to be congruent with what you're expecting them to step into. And that's where I think there's a big disconnect. So many people want to hire and see the person paying for themselves 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and they don't realize that it's just not obtainable with the situation that they place them in. Now, I think the other kind of warning flag I'll throw up here is I see a lot of businesses that hire someone to come in and do something that they're not currently doing, that they're frustrated with, that maybe the CEO or manager either hasn't had success in or hasn't applied themselves to. And I just want to throw up the warning flag there. CEOs, business leaders, division managers, presidents, vice presidents, if you're hiring someone to come in and do something that you are not willing to get your hands dirty and do side by side with them, their chances of success are going to be really low. And it's not that you need to be and do every role in the company. It's not that you need to be and do everything that you need this person to do. It's that I think in so many instances, there's a fairy tale in people's mind about how quickly or how easily a problem is going to be solved without an understanding of the reality of when you get on the ground floor, what things actually look like. And so just be very, very careful hiring someone to come in and solve something that's a hole or that's broken in your company, because if you haven't been able to figure it out, you better be really certain of the capabilities of the person you're bringing in, that they're going to, in fact, be able to solve this thing that you haven't been able to. And make sure that you're willing to get involved at whatever level is needed in order to help them to, in fact, be successful. Now, the third big part of this is making sure that they have a comp plan that drives the right behaviors that they can use and understand. And I think that it's very important to understand what the top 3 deliverables are of any role. That goes back to step 1, the first thing that we talked about, which was an outcome-based job description. So what are the 3 core deliverables of the role? How does that drive profits for the company? But then when you come down to number 3, which is designing the comp plan, companies that have really high performance cultures incentivize the behavior that they want to drive. And so what you want to ask yourself is, how can you design a comp plan that makes it really exciting, really tangible, and really realistic for someone to be motivated to act on the things that are going to move the needle to get the result that you want, right? And a lot of times people give a comp plan when someone's hired, and maybe they cover it once or twice in the onboarding, and then it's never spoken about again. And then they wonder why their team is not motivated, why their new hires aren't producing, why they're not seeing the results. And you're saying, but I gave them a great comp plan. They can make a ton of money. Right? I hear this from people all the time. I gave them a great comp plan and they can make a ton of money. Okay, that's great. But what I didn't hear you say is that they actually understand it and they know how to use it. And it's a part of what's driving their day-to-day function in the role. That's the part that's missing for so many people when they make new hires and even with their existing teams. So what I recommend is when you're doing daily and weekly meetings, when you're doing one-on-ones, all of that, make sure that you're revisiting their comp plan and how they can make money with their comp plan and how they can use it week to week, and remind them of the outcomes that they're working on day to day, week to week, that are going to drive those initiatives that you put in their compensation plan, so that you're not only getting them excited and motivated to come to work, but you're really specifically driving those core 3 deliverables that are going to drive the productivity and profits of the business. Okay. All right. Number 4, you want to make sure that you have a well thought out, well designed 30-day boot camp. Okay. They say that new hires in a company, just like new customers, their success rate is made or broken, and their investment in the company is made or broken in those first 30 days. That 30-day boot camp is absolutely essential. It is core and fundamental to your ability to get someone productive and profitable in their new role and thriving in your company. And so you want to make sure that you're not just going over the tasks of the role, but you're breaking down the context, the vision, the go-to-market strategy, the company philosophy, even words that you use regularly. You really want to make sure that by the time that 30 days is done, that they're really well-versed in your organization, not just in tasks, not just in their role, but who you are, what you believe, how you want to show up in the world, what matters most. You want to give them context for decision-making and context for thinking that is going to lead to the outcomes that you desire. And a really well done 30-day training plan can include about an hour a day of formal training. But what you want to do is you want to have them work with different people in the company on different things. You want to use a lot of recorded assets and resources that you already have. That should be organized in a training plan by category so that you can use those over and over again as you hire new people. And even as you build out divisions of the company, which is what we've done, you can build set training portals that have the up-to-date assets for someone that is going through an onboarding process so that it really accelerates 6 months of learning down into those first 4 to 6 weeks. And it truly gives someone that is new to the organization the confidence to step forward and to make an impact right away and to make it feel seamless to your team and to your clients as they come on board. So brain dumping a list of every single hire get up and running and to become successful. So as you're designing their 30-day boot camp and putting together what they're going to do from a learning perspective, you also want to be thinking about who are all the people that could contribute in a meaningful way to helping this person to have success. And many times this will also accelerate their learning journey because maybe they're not totally comfortable, or maybe there are certain questions that they are going to feel better asking to a teammate versus their direct manager. Sometimes maybe they feel a little embarrassed with certain things, but those clarity points and those day-to-day kind of nuanced asks that are more deeply rooted in the tactical things that may not need to even come from their direct manager, having a success team to help people to answer those questions and to keep them moving is really important. And that's the other thing I would say. I think that a lot of times what prevents new hires from getting up and running really quickly is they can only move at the speed that you can move. And because of them only being able to move at the speed that you can move, it's really, really hard to get them to where you want to be as quickly as they could be there. Okay. So what I want you to think about is these 5 things can really catapult the stickiness factor in your culture. They can really help you to be clearer in the hiring process to make sure that you get the right people in the door. They can also make sure that when you do get great people in the door, that they stay. And for those of you that have been scratching your head saying, I just don't know how to get my people profitable, I definitely think this is going to make a massive difference for you. So if you listen to today's episode, you heard me talk about, number 1, creating an outcome-based job description with the top 3 deliverables of the role that someone is going to be coming into. You heard me share the importance of there being a repeatable pathway for success with core metrics in place and making sure that you're actually setting someone up for success coming into an environment in which they can thrive. Number 3, designing a compensation plan that they can use and understand that creates a win-win situation for you and them, and making sure that they are trained on it over and over again, as well as incentivizing the right things that are going to make the biggest difference. Putting together a 30-day boot camp for training, remember that they can only move as fast as you can move, and making sure that you're putting together a success team to help your new team member absolutely thrive and crush it in their new role. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. You don't have to nail all 5 of these things perfectly. Just take imperfect action, look at where your opportunities are, and put one foot in front of the other. I'm so excited to see you build your dream team, and I hope this episode is helping you move forward in a step-by-step fashion to do that. If you got value out of today's episode, I would be unbelievably grateful if you would share the episode online and tag me, and I would share that. I would so appreciate you sharing that, and that's how we keep the show commercial free. So share it out in the world, give the gift of learning to someone else that can use it. And I hope to see you back here in just a couple days.